We also asked a lot of questions about people's other parts of their environmental lifestyles. So we asked them about their purchasing in supermarkets, their eating habits and so on. And what we found was that, yes, people were doing things to save a bit of energy in the home, save some water, because they had the things to do that, and it was quite easy. But when it comes to things like reducing the amount of packaging when you go shopping, or buying organic produce and all those other things that we think of as being environmentally friendly, they weren't doing those things. And the reason they weren't doing them was quite obviously because in many cases it's more expensive to do things like that, buying local, buying organic and so on and so forth. And these are people on very low incomes. The Sustainable Living Project more widely across kind of other areas of Devon, well, it's raised awareness and that's very good. But I would argue, and I think this is a really important academic point, is that I don't think this particular project has done a huge amount to make people greener. But what it has done is it's brought people together. So it has a much more important social sustainability element than an environmental one. And it's probably meant that people have a lot more cultural capital now than they did before. If you look at all the remarks from the focus groups that are in that report I've given you, people don't really talk about how much energy they're saving or how more green they are. They're talking about how much more enjoyable it was to get together as a community. It was the first time we got together. We really enjoyed that. So it probably has these much more intangible social benefits rather than simply environmental ones. So you could probably say, yes, there are big benefits to this type of approach, but it's going to have unexpected outcomes. And because of the people you're looking at, because people are on low incomes, it's very difficult to tackle wider issues of consumption because those individuals don't have the buying power to make decisions about what they want to consume. For them, the critical issue is price rather than environmental sustainability. Right, apologies that is a rush. Have you got any questions? Obviously this should be Rose standing here, not me. So this is her work, not mine.
What's the difference between affordable housing and social housing?
That's a very good question, actually. Affordable housing is a technical term. Social housing is more of a term which is more broadly used. So affordable housing is normally taken to be, I can't remember the exact statistic, the guys will be able to tell you later today, but it's a percentage of the market value for a house. So I think you would say something like, I can't remember to be honest what it is, but anyway, your affordable housing is a certain percentage below the average house price in the area, so the person has more accessibility to it. So it's actually a kind of a red line, if you like. Social housing would basically be all housing which is open to individuals who are on a particular housing register. But it may not necessarily be affordable, it could be at a market rate, so it could be rentable at a market rate, but just open to all individuals on a housing waiting list. You know.
Would you say Oak Meadow has met its objectives in terms of if it was going for environmental sustainability?
Well, I mean, I suppose you could be cruel and say no because it didn't get its excellent rating on eco homes, but I think
what it's achieved in community sense has made up for that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, again, I asked Gail about this as well. The sense that I've got when I've walked around is that there's a lot of pushing going on still from the housing association to get people to do things. You know, if you walk around, and it's quite interesting. There's a heck of a lot of cars on this estate, which is an interesting issue. And you know, they are not in the middle of Exeter. We are in a small market town, but I think it's only been partially successful in the sense that one of the aims was to get people to lead a healthier lifestyle. A lot of the problems on this estate are still related to things like smoking, for example. So it's partially worked, I think. But it's very difficult, even if you give an eco home to someone and say, here you are, it's very difficult for people to actually kick all those habits. So, yeah, I think it's been partially successful. The kind of quantitative results are very good because the electricity usage is so much lower, the water usage is so much lower, but it's these kind of other things which I think they wanted to achieve probably were too optimistic, I think, to achieve. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say that because you've got these problems with cars and sort of certain health
Yeah.
issues and things, would you say that for some people moving into one of these homes may sort of mentally, psychologically make them not care as much about other aspects of trying to be sustainable because they think, oh, it's being offset because I'm in a very low.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. If you look at the results from the survey data, there isn't a huge amount of shift in people's environmental attitudes. There are some behavioural shifts related to energy and water use, but they're not the shifts you would expect to see in attitudes being surrounded in this type of environment. I'm sure that is the case, that people say, well, I'm in a structural environment that enables me to be greener. And again, the other issue is these people weren't picked because they were green, they were picked for other reasons, and therefore we can't expect them to be any different from the rest of the population in that respect. No.
These people were picked, are they?
Yeah, they were selected, but again, not on the grounds of being environmentally friendly, on the grounds of particular health needs or disability concerns that you know, the housing association had. Yeah. So I mean, particularly, as I say, asthmatics who found it difficult to live in a place with carpets everywhere. Yeah.
Do you think that a more sort of socially sustainable community, more sort of together community, can therefore become sort of more environmentally sustainable in time?
It's a good question, isn't it? Yeah. I remain to be convinced personally. I mean, I think this community here has been under the spotlight, not least for the fact that people like me have been coming in all the time and giving questionnaires and focus groups, and then guys like you come and look around the houses, and that just couldn't happen everywhere. So it's an interesting question. I just don't know the answer. But what we would say is, I think that it, you know, to turn it on its head, the environmental benefits probably have social benefits, because that people are brought together in another way, but they may not necessarily become greener, but they might feel that they themselves have more esteem as a community.